In the first session, I have explained meaning of state and the different perspectives on the state by Aristotle, even other scholars of political science which have explained that. Now, we are going to understand the topic that is Unit 11. In your book, you can see the page number 120 in the first semester and political science. That is kinds of states. The first kind of state, theocratic. The second one, welfare state. And third one, totalitarian state. These are all the three different states which we had a different meaning of a particular state. A theocratic state has its own meaning. Welfare state has its own meaning. And similarly, totalitarian state has its own meaning. This will make you to understand perfectly in deeper of this theocratic state and what are the examples of that. What is the welfare state and what are the examples for that? And what is totalitarian state? What are the examples for that? We shall understand in this lesson. Let me speak. And the first one, theocratic state. What is a theocratic state? Is a state an old type of government? The word theocracy has been derived from Greek words. One is theo and krasia. The Greek word, if you could understand the etymological of this theocratic meaning, if you go back to the derivations of the words where it has taken, the word it has taken from Greek, the first word theo and krasia, which means rule of God. Okay, a state is going ruled by God. Generally, we had a different, example for that rule of God state. It's a government generally based on religion or governed by priest in the name of. For this, if it is an example, generally we also called it as a theory of divine. If you go back to the centuries ago, even in French, even in Byzantine Empire, some of the states which has its a kind of this theocratic state administration. Means the God means everything the people here, even these rulers, they believes in the God. Instead of it, they do not have any kind of believing in other aspects of an administration. Let's say, for example, if anything happens and if anything is going to be an execute or if anything is going to be an policy implementations or policy making in the state, everything they prepared and executed on the grounds of, God or godistic principles. Okay, so as originally theocracy meant in the political system, where divine law was a basis of all humanly enacted law. The laws of one major religion is laws of the land. For an individual who is treated like a representative of a god is true head of the both religion as well as the state. I think I'll tell you the many examples if you go, Greek or European administration. I think I just take it as an example of some of the rulers. One is Saint Ambrose, Saint Augustine. Okay, all these rulers actually they soon after they started to make us to understand what is theory of divine, what is a theocratic state. But generally in the past, before we adopted a kind of state or democratic state, we had to have a kind of administration is like it is determined and decided by the godistic principle. Like say, for example, in a French Revolution, if you see the Louis XVI government, I think you might have seen this division of the society. the social stratifications has done in the different levels, like clergy, nobility, big businessman, and all of them, where the ruler did not give any importance to the people's voice, but he has given an importance to God. God, he used to utter the word. God has given such kind of principles. We have to obey them, isn't it? So such kind of a thing, generally, it will be treated as a kind of a theocratic state. Means the God, in this one, the state, no election, no kind of democratic principles will be there. There is God, for assisting the God, there will be king. A king, and as well as to the God, and king believes in him. He receives the power from God, and he must be accountable back to the God itself. Between God and king, there is no, accountability. There is no, responsibility. Between king and the God, it will be treated as a vacuum. There is no any kind of a preference as given to the people of the state. People of the state were treated as kind of general. There was no point of reasons to consider the views of the people. There is no freedom. There is no liberty. And everyone treats as like subordinate to the state, subordinate to the king, and subordinate to the God, isn't it? So there was no rule of any kind of an authority which shall be handed over in the hands of anybody. Example, and pharaohs of ancient Egypt can be the best example for the kind of an administration where believe the gods morally. They do not believe in any kind of people's voice and the people's right, anything. The Byzantine Empire was ruled by the emperor who was also head of the church. Means he used to follow the theory of divine law, who do not concede any of the voice of the people at that point of time. The term, when you take it as an important here, is that here even the state can be treated under the religious things, or religious norms taken into the consideration. Like the best example, I think in the medieval and at time, if you see that church and state controversy we had. So church and state controversy, state is a word where people used to believe the things in terms of rights and liberty and freedom and all of them. Where state, never treats anybody as in the grounds of caste and religions, anything. State is made for all. It's an institution, it works for all. But whereas church is a representative of, the same community people, church is only the head of the state at that point of time, where it took an entire, responsibility to administrate. If anyone who speaks against the, against the king, there'll be comes under the such kind of punishments and all of them. We have seen that. So in the medieval time, if you could see, there is a huge contradiction between the state and the church. So if any states are under the control of the church, that it can comes under the purview of a theocratic state. If anything, who follows the norms and conditions according to the God, the king who believes into the kind of a godistic principle, who also is treated as a kind of a theocratic state. Hope you understand the meaning of the theocratic state. In the simple, I will give you, where theocratic state doesn't have any kind of rights to the people. They never concede to the people's voice at all. There is no freedom at all to the people. There is no liberties at all to the people. All the people should be considered like slaves, and which they have faith in the God, which they must have a belief in the God, and who, actually against such kind of a system will not comes into the purview of any kind of this state. So state, which is made it an administrations and all of them by the help of norms of church or God or anything. So if you could see still more, understanding of this theocratic state, we need to understand the characteristics of theocracies. Okay. Now let us look at the characteristics of the features of the theocratic states. If you see the first one, which I will tell you, existence of a state religion. In the characteristics of the theocratic state, the first feature is that existence of a state religion. Here the religion, it becomes more and more important. State declares one major religion as it is official religion, and the state apparatus is subordinate to it always in terms of ruling, in terms of administration, in terms of making of laws, all of that. So religions plays a very, very important role in the state. If any states are being given a priority or practice of this religion, are and in terms of to follow the godistic principles or religion principle, and similarly the state which it can be called it as a theocratic state. That is what it is written clearly in the first features of characteristics of theocracies. The second, features, if you could see that, religion-based laws. The law, as I have said, all laws and bylaws, rules and regulations are framed as per the principles of the state religion. Means the state which should gives in much importance to the religion. Religions may and plays very important role in terms of making of laws and bylaws and rules and regulations and everything. For instance, in some of the Islamic countries, if you take it as an example, and the Islamic law Sharia plays a very, very important role. Like see, for example, the Islamic rule, the religious rule, as we call as Sharia. Sharia means is the constitutions of the Islamic law or Islamic people. So they do not follow any kind of a thing rather than this Sharia, isn't it? So religion-based laws also is the best example. If any state which it can be called it as a religion-based state, that shall be treated as a kind of a theocratic state. The best example which I can see, UAE, United Arab Emirate countries, who follows a Sharia all the time, who depends on their own, kind of a Sharia law, which gives in most of preference to the religious and their own religion. And when it comes to the point of government run by priests, the third features, if I could explain to you that government run by priests. Here the government do not consider the views of the people, as I've said in the beginning. Government, it always mention the God is great and the divine theory of divine is very important. Government, it's run by the priests that are spiritual leaders of the dominant religions of the country and who claim to represent the will of the God. They are considered the executive with the sole authority to make laws. As I will give you the example which I have said, where the government run by the priest or spiritual leaders. Like say, for example, as I have you see the Pope administration. Some of the countries, like say, for example, Vatican City, if I'm telling the best example, there is a Pope administration. Pope is the head of the state who makes its rules and regulations as per the religion, who gives in much importance to the religion, who have every responsibility to make the laws related to the religious norms only. So as government, it gives an importance to run the state on the will of the God, not on the will of the people. If I am telling the example for this particular feature, is in Iran, the best example. There were a religious head, Ayatollah Khomeini was a present leader, who also head of the nations, who makes it a point which are related to the Sharia law, who gives an importance in terms of this kind of, religious norms and religious rules and all of them, isn't it? So when it comes to the point of another fourth feature, succession of political power, the fourth feature which makes us to understand that the type of succession of political power in a theocracy is either inheritance or elective mode. Like say, for example, ensuming the subsection, and discussed already, which I've said in the just now, theocratic state where sometimes it can be transfer the power on the grounds of inheritance, and sometimes it may be transfer the power to one another on the grounds of elective mode. Means within this elective mode also can be happen within this religious norms, isn't it? Within this religious norms, it clearly mentions, and religious people can contest for them. Those who have faith in the religion, they can contest for this in these kind of elections. So such kind of the importance, if anyone who gives in the state, that it can be called it as a theocratic state. As I've told the example, Vatican City, as even I told the example, Iran or United Arab Emirate countries who follow the religious law, which is called Sharia. Okay, and the priests are even them. Say, for example, some of them, if you could see, go back to the centuries ago, there was a Saint Augustine, and all of them which used to follow such kind of the religious rules and religious kings and all of them, isn't it? So now, And if I'm all these four features is makes us to understand that is a, determine the state whether it should comes into the totalitarian or whether it should comes into the purview of a democratic state, or it should comes into the purview of a kind of a state which is called theocratic state. We have, even theocratic state has its own advantages. What are the advantages which is given clearly in the, this theocratic state? Let me explain that. The first one, well-organized government. When, see, sometimes if many are there in the administration, it leads to the confusion. Isn't it? It leads to the confusion, it leads to the red tapeism, it leads to the delay. Is a certain things it may causes. But if a one leader who have a kind of a better understanding, or who decided to follow the certain rules, and on the grounds of such pattern of administration, such pattern of government, we do have an advantages. What are the types of, this according to this kind of theocratic state, if you see, we have a few advantages rather than disadvantages. The first one, well-organized government. Theocracy is actually relatively efficient and well-organized since the spiritual leaders in government work closely. And it is very easy to decision-making, and it is also the faster process it can be done in this kind of a state. Law-making process will be quicker, because there are no separate branches to check each other and to cause of any kind of a delay. So one mind work, it can be called as a one-man army administration who have lots of authority which it can make so. So this is a well-organized government. Theocracy is an advantage if you could take it out. It is a well-organized government. Even if the one leader is there for the administrative point of view, state and making point of view, it also leads to the peace and the unity. Due to common beliefs in the system, theocracy tends to have a very high level of unity and patriotism and among its citizens. Generally, when it comes to the point of this, this state, theocratic state, generally it build up or construct on the grounds of religious faith. When all of them have a religious faith, there is easy way to do the administration. There will be no kind of contemplations and the contentions in the administration process. So hence these kind of a process also which lead to the peace building or an unity building concept. So religious sentiment also makes it a point. It causes much to bringing up peace and the unity, where the peace and unity which it can be existence in the government, which causes to better development, better way of ruling the state and without having any delay. So on the grounds of that and the peace and unity, it could become one of the advantages of this theocratic state in terms of peace and unity. When it comes to the point of third, reduced number of crimes. Okay. See, generally, when a one ruler is there, generally, whatever this religious norms and conditions which it can be existence in the state, the punishments will be very severe. Let's say, for example, crime is punishable. If anyone who commits a crime, whether it could be a civil crime, whether it could be any kind of the crimes, if someone who commits that, there will be a punishable, things which will be there. I'll tell you Robespierre's theory. It's a French government who was a French ruler who believes into the theory of law. If within his kingdom, if anyone who commits a mistake, he used to give guillotine punishment. Like there is a big spot will be there in the middle. It always is a flicker from one side to another side. If any person who commits a mistake, they used to drop there and used to kept under the middle. And when sword is flickering from one another, it cut the throat of a person. So as similarly, if you could see the Greek, there are certain punishments which it can be a part of this, theocratic state. If anyone, like say for example, mute yourself, Farhana Begum. Okay. So similarly, when it comes to the point of this theocratic state, as I have said that peace and unity can be easily developed. Similarly, reduce the number of crimes. If you could see, if anyone who commits a mistake, either it could be a small and big, if anyone who commits a mistake, who dragged for the severe punishment. Let's say, for example, United Arab Emirates countries. If anyone who commits a crimes and who abuse of women will have a death punishment. Okay. So this is a kind of a theocratic state which gives a severe punishment to them, which causes of reduce the number of crimes, and finally it lead to the resetting of any kind of a crimes and the things which is generally evils of the society. And the fourth one advantage it can tell you, it can lead to the better society. When one way of mindset, when peace, when unity, when there is no kind of punishment, when there is no kind of crimes, if it is existence in the state, surely the state is going to work and flourish as a better state. So the theocratic state, it becomes the finest one, which causes a betterment, which makes it things to run the administrations very easily without having any kind of a disturbances at all. So this, a kind of an thing and theocratic state which lead to the better society where and unity and peace in existence to them. And also at the same time, when people have a faith in the God, and always there would be an obedient towards an administration. Whereas more obedient public is one of the advantages of this, theocratic state, as in generally religious influence in governance discourages citizens from becoming discontent. Okay, the government uses religious fear and persecutions to keep the people obedient. Due to the God-fearing nature of the people, it is easy to opt in their obedience in the subordination. Like someone who commits a mistake, it leads to the severe punishment. Okay, the people who see that. And if you do wrong, the God will give the punishment to you. If you do, a kind of a sin, a kind of a wrong, it will become a sin, then the God will give punishment to us. So it's a kind of a psychological, the people made their mindset psychologically, were always to be obedient towards a God, supportive to the God administration. Isn't it? So there is no point of reason to do any kind of the mistakes, so that it could become and makes a people when government build up on the grounds of theory of law and the divine law, where the God intervention will be there in the state. Surely the people also always would be the obedient towards a government and their policy making. So the last advantage which I will tell you, the changes are approved rapidly. So under the theocratic rule, always and anything from new infrastructure to sweeping social reform can happen in a speedy manner. Even for change to take place, the leader says that is the will of a God, and this is accepted as an unimpeachable fact by the citizens. See, if anything brings a change, it can happen very swiftly, fastly, because of anything and changes. If anything need to be and takes place in the state, there is no, role of people as well as to the ruler, the king. What he says that if anything changes we need to bring, as he believes, people believe this change caused by the God. Okay, God has ordered us to bring the changes, and God says everything, and we do that. And there is no point of an interventions of the people as well as to the ruler. So when God is doing something change, that surely people will accept without any, discontentment, without any impeaching the voice and decisions of the God. So this is also the one kind of the best method to follow the theocratic state, as we have seen all this thing, the better to lead the state, which it can be called it as an advantages of state, isn't it? Similarly, when one ruler, in the still, if you could see, and 21st century, if you follow the such kind of the religious, rule or theocratic state, which also brought some kind of a drawbacks. So as many thinkers have suggested that the government should be built up on the grounds of views of the people, where people should and believe them on the grounds of, practicality, not on the grounds of any kind of this religious faith or religious law, theory of divine. So everything it has been in strike up. So as in the new time, the modern time, if you could see, the theocratic state, which also has been, consists of some of the disadvantages, which are one among them, the first one, anti-democratic. Generally, any theocratic states, which do not gives you complete, freedom to the people, because of people has to always to be as a subordinate. They do not have any right to speak against to the God principle. So, for example, if you go to the temple, okay, you can't speak against the temple, who are looking after the temple, and you can't say them this, you have to do this and you have to do that. And what he says that automatically you follows that. Because you have faith, you believe that is a God. We shouldn't speak anything which is against the God or God norms. So as in the theocratic state, if there is no voice of the people, there is no freedom to the people, generally it can be treated as an anti-democratic principle, anti-democratic government. It creates a lot of inequalities in the society based on religion practices. Hence, theocracy is being opposed in the modern times, It's also been an opposed and in the democratic state of across the worldwide. The second disadvantage is that no political freedom will be there. Because of there is no political freedom, the people cannot contest for the election. People cannot involve into the governmental activity or political activity because of it is being run by the government always, isn't it? The people's attitudes, views, and the opinions towards the political system are guided by the religious beliefs that might curtail their political freedom, as in the theocratic state. That was the second advantage, which I've said, that is, no political freedom will be or would be given in the theocratic state. And the third one, no religious freedom will be there. In a theocracies, there is no religious freedom, as no religious tolerance. People have to strictly adhere to the official religious principles of religion. Minorities within the states and discriminated, and they are treated as second-grade citizens in that. See, for example, particular religions, it becomes an king. Those will be given a priority to them. Rest of the religious people will be treated as a kind of those, which means those who do not have beliefs in a god, they'll be treated as a minority. The minority is always been discriminated into the kind of theocratic state. So there is no right to give it to the minorities in the state. So hence it's been criticized in the modern time. The next and disadvantage is rigid and unfundamentalist in nature. See, there is no point of reason when people generally, if any change brings by the, people's voice. When people's voice do not conceded by the king, there is no point of reasons to bring any changes at all. So it is a completely rigid. What God said, they'll do it. God prepared that and they'll do it. So hence, rigid and fundamentalist in nature. That's the reason. It is also one of the reasons to criticize them. Tends to be authoritarian. See, one man for a few times, it would be good for an administration. When one man takes up an entire responsibility for the state, it causes of any kind of an authoritarian state. So authoritarian state, it creates lots of disturbances into the state. It may cause revolutionary methods also. So in keeping in view of that, keeping tends to be authoritarian on the grounds of that, the theocratic state, it's been, stopped that. When it comes to the point of harsh and unusual punishment, see, whenever the punishments is being given to the people, there has to be a consideration. There is to be a law rule. Say, for example, if you commit the mistake, if it could be a small mistake, the punishment will be given very small. Say, for example, there are in the present system, courts are there. See, if a person who killed another person, okay, the punishment is different. If you, wound someone, or if you scold and the court cannot give the punishment and as it is given to a person who murdered them, isn't it? So as in the grounds of punishments distribution, there is a demarcation, small punishment, big punishment, criminal or civil punishment, such kind of the punishment which will be different from one another, isn't it? So as I want to tell you that here is that, so as in the theocratic state, there is no point of reason to making of certain rules and the prescribed rules as what he thinks that, okay, what kings thought of that, he will give punishment to them. So this cause of an unfair punishments, unusual punishments also. Like if you go back to the centuries ago, if a king frustrated, he used to kill many of their subordinates. There is no rule at all because he has prepared the rule. Okay. So as in the present time, if you could see, if anyone who gives a wrong punishment to them, even it is a court or if anyone high court or Supreme Court, on the grounds of wrong punishment, even the high court and Supreme Court judges also get punished, isn't it? That is the law says, because we have prescribed the law, depends on mistakes, that depends on the thing. Always justice should be protected. But there is no matter of justice and injustice into the state of theocracy. One man rule will works out. The one man can and decide and what he wants to give that, punishment, that it can be given to the person without any reason, okay, without any question. And this kind of a state, it has its own kind of disadvantages, as I believe. When it comes to the point of another state, which I've said, and after the theocratic state, I just wanted to tell you the state names are that welfare state. Let me speak about that. Go to the page number and 126. That is the second kinds of the state in the same unit of 11. Then what is a welfare state? Let me explain that the modern state is generally known as a welfare state. The best example for the welfare state is in India. And how do you define this welfare state? Isn't it? Welfare state means it essentially a social service state providing material welfare of the people within the framework of democratic political institutions. See, for example, now government, it's a responsibility of a government to provide all the basic amenities to the person, like food, shelter, cloth, and everything, health, drinking water, sanitation, all minimum necessities, what it is required for the diversity people. If government, if it is provided for them, if it is protected to them, that shall be treated as a kind of a welfare state. If any state is owing the responsibility to providing all the basic amenities to the people as like health facility or food facility and all of them, that shall be treated as a welfare state. Like the best example, if I'm taking India, India is providing education to the people free of cost, like government, through the government schools and the government colleges, government universities, they are providing a free of education to them because it's a basic, necessity to the person to become a literate, isn't it? Similarly, if you see that in the providing the free drinking water facilities to them, like see every village in the every town, there is a board that's called municipal water, municipal commissionerate, all of them. Through that, they are providing water facilities to them. But of course, some charges will be charged in the metro town and the some of the twin cities. But that is a different issue. But when it comes to the point of the government is taking a large responsibility to providing the minimum facilities to the person, and it's showing the responsibility to provide all the necessities to them. For that, and every village has a government, person who release the water to them. Similarly, when it comes to the point of, health, it's an health also basic amenities. Like see, for every village has a basic, stage of treatment in the PHC, public health, primary health center, isn't it? Similarly, if you go to the mandal level and district level, there is a community hospitals will be there. If it's the state level, the Gandhi Hospital, if you take it to Usmania General Hospital. So these are all the hospitals which provided to the protections to the people free of a cost without taking single rupee. So it's a responsibility of the government, the state, which is providing basic amenities in terms of health to them, that it lead to call it as a kind of a welfare state. As hope you understand the meaning of a welfare state, as in the modern times, many of states are being treated as a welfare states only. And and in the definitions of the political thinker, if you could see, G.D.H. Cole says that the meaning of welfare state, the welfare state is a society in which an assured minimum standard of living and opportunity becomes the possessions of every citizen is generally treated as a welfare state. As in short, I will discuss you that according to G.D.H. Cole, what he told, the meaning of the welfare state means, the welfare state actually, it's taking responsibility and assuring the minimum standard of living to the people who are living in the particular country. Let's say, for example, India. Okay, it's been in providing assurance and in terms of providing all the basic amenities to them, isn't it? So there's an example which you can consider as a welfare state responsibility. As per the Amartya Sen, okay, is an Indian economist who said, and who defined the welfare state is a system wherein government agrees to underwrite certain levels of unemployment and income, education, medical aid, social security, and housing for all citizens. See, if a government is taking a responsibility to provide the minimum employment to the people, our income or education, medical aid, social security, and housing for all the citizens. Even we have in all these facilities which is owned by the government. Government is giving free of distributions of homes in on the name of certain scheme, Rajiv, Ruhakalpa, we have, Indiramma Illu program, and all these certain programs are providing poor people to distributions of this, homes to them, or homeless people also is getting a home. 1 second. So this is one which is Amartya Sen definition. Like as I've said, government is also taking an a huge responsibility to providing in free health camps, free health facility, and all of them, isn't it? So this is the one which I will tell you as in terms of this GDH coal and all of them. So in a simple meaning, in the 19th and 20th century, the responsibility of a welfare state, it becomes a main role in order to eradications of the illiteracy or poor people or any kind of a thing which causes to disturbance of life expectancy of the people. Like in the, if you see, if you would like to understand some more deeper about the welfare state, okay, the first one, we need to understand the characteristics. What is the characteristics of this welfare state? The first one, increase in the sphere of state activity. See, state always makes it its law and order or collecting taxes from citizens. A welfare state undertake a wide range of social service programs for the betterment of its citizen, particularly in the interest of the weaker sections of the society. So here it's taking a complete responsibility to providing the much, better thing to the people. And the first characteristic says it exactly that. And as it is said, like increase in the spheres of state activity. The second one, mixed economy, public ownership. So as it's welfare setup and mixed economy, means here everything which is given in private sector and the government sector, anyone can do the business. Provisions of social security services providing. See, the state takes up the responsibility to providing, social security to old age people, like in the form of pension or old age home, all of them. Like widows also has been getting a pension per month. It's a kind of an appeasement for them. It's a responsibility of the government to provide them. Even on orphans who have lost the mothers and assistants, who do not have parental security and all of them, they will be given a kind of assistance to them, like orphanage homes we have, orphanage educational institutions we have, then entirely it's monitored by the government. Disabled people, like physically handicapped, you say visually handicapped, mentally handicapped people. So all such things which will be there, which is provided by the government in order to protect them. So in granting pensions, rendering health sources, and all of them, it's being a part of the social security services, which is truly is provided by the government of welfare state. If a welfare state, that it can be provided. So even the government in the welfare state, we are taking a huge responsibility, protection of health. If any states has been taking a responsibility to protection of health of every individuals of a state, that shall be treated as a welfare state. Like see, for example, in the COVID time, everyone are being, given precautions, and it's providing a lot of, knowledge to the people to how to keep away our, things to not to expose to the any kind of an, this disease is viral or something. So epidemics and the eradications of the spread of the contagious diseases like viral disease and all of them, the government is taking responsibility. If such things is being taken responsibility by the any state, that shall be treated as a welfare state. Okay, I think all of you have vaccinated. Is there anybody, charge you to give the vaccination to everybody? Have you taken free of cost all of them? How many of you, took vaccination? So, however, take vaccination, okay, and protect yourself, and to do not expose any kind of viral and some contagious diseases, isn't it? So, spreading education also is a responsibility of a welfare state, as I've said. So, when it comes to the point of merits and demerits, also we have, and one is an economic advantage, one is an utilitarian positions, will get it out. Even disadvantages, if you could see, very expensive. See, government is taking responsibility to providing all these things. It is going to become a huge expensive to the people. Government, like crores of rupees, which is required. Curbs individual initiative. If a government is taking everything to help out, there is no matter of running any kind of a thing by the individual. Undue importance to the bureaucracy also has been happened. Increase in taxations, which causes burden of overpopulations, is causes. See, generally, you may know, government is taking responsibility to providing all the basic amenities to the people, right? One side. But where they are getting all this money in the form of taxation. So when this, expenditure, when it is increases, from another side the taxes also is being increases, isn't it? So in order to that, generally the government do not have any kind of a personal treasury. See, for example, if a KCR is there, KCR cannot bring the money from his personal account and can't invest it on the people's welfare. Am I true? Isn't it? Similarly, what I mean to say, ఎప్పుడైతే ఇక్కడ ఖర్చులు ఎక్కువ పెరుగుతాయో ఆ ఖర్చులు జనాల నుంచి తీసుకుంటుంది గవర్నమెంట్. ఏ రూపంలో తీసుకుంటుంది? టాక్సేషన్ రూపంలో తీసుకుంటుంది. ఈ రోజు 100 రూపాయలు పెట్టిందంటే మిగతా, అండ్ అనదర్ సైడ్ ఇట్ టేక్స్ అప్ 200 రూపీస్ ఫ్రమ్ ద పీపుల్. దే కలెక్ట్ ద 200 రూపీస్ ఫ్రమ్ ద పీపుల్ ఇన్ ద ఫార్మ్ ఆఫ్ టాక్సేషన్. దట్ ఈస్ అ కామన్. సో as this also we have a merit, demerits, disadvantage. When we are expendituring more, we need to have a more amount. When the similarly government is decided to expenditure on the basic amenities like food, free of distribution of food, like midday meal programs we have in every schools, the government school. Those who have enrolled in their, name into the government school, the one should, given a midday meals free of cost, free uniform distribution, free, books distribution, like free health facility. All of them, when government is taking such kind of an initiative, it never invested its money by their personal. They collect back the money from the people itself in the form of taxes. I think everybody knows that. After the budget session, we have seen the another changes into the budget. Like you can go through the slab of the budget, then you can understand how much budget is we need to, how much tax we need to pay. If you earn 5 lakh, and if you earn 7 lakh, and more than 7 lakhs, what is the slab system till 20 lakhs? So these kind of the slab systems will be there. You can see and understand how government is actually taking a tax from the people who are earning more. After collecting of taxes, it never, even it is not going to their personal account. It is going back to the, again, the expenditure of the people, isn't it? So these are all the welfare state and merits and demerits which I have explained to you. There is most of the states in India which isn't are welfare states, and most of nations across the world, it's been working on the welfare state. And the soon United States of America, it's also treated as a new welfare state. And even, like in India, as truly it's been called it as a welfare state. Even it has mentioned clearly in the constitution of in India in the form of directive principles of the state policy, which says fundamental rights, says about to provide in all of them, like, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan programs, and all of these programs evidence us to understand that government India is a welfare state. Then another, things which I would like to tell you, the last kind of a state, that is totalitarian state. The term totalitarian state means the state is all in all. And as the term totalitarian denotes, is a form of rule in which the government attempts to maintain total control over society. Here, government, it control entire the society. There no one excluded from that. If any authority which takes up a full of, regulations on every individuals of the society, that it can be called it as a totalitarian state. If you see etymologically meaning of this totalitarian state, the term totalitarismo was first used by Italian philosopher Giovanni Gentile. Okay, what is his name? For the first time, who used this totalitarian state means in the 1875 to 1944, who was in the administrations, who belongs to Italy, and who was a philosopher of that, and his name is that Giovanni Gentile was the person for the first time used the letter totalitarian state. And if you see the best example of Hitler, Benito Mussolini in the 20th century, that intended to convey the sense of all embracing to total state. No part of human life is outside of supervision and control of the state. It is omnipotent and infallible, absolute and permanent. Hence, it is called as an unlimited state. So this state will take entire control over it. Nobody excluded from that. If you have any problems, it's controlled by the government. The best example, Benito Mussolini in the 1883 to 1945. If you could see easily, you can understand. If you read about it, Benito Mussolini's administration, you shall understand easy to the meaning of, totalitarian state. And the characteristics of the totalitarian state, which I will tell you. The first characteristics of the totalitarian state, like the best example for this totalitarian state is that Stalin Okay, Benito Mussolini, Adolf Hitler from Germany, Benito Mussolini from Italy, okay, Joseph Stalin from Soviet Union. All these best example to understand the totalitarian state. And what are the features of the totalitarian state? Let me tell you the first feature. And one man, if he is controlling entire state, surely it would be dictatorial. Okay, dictator, we generally use the word. When we use dictator, when there is no presence of parliamentary system, when there is no presence of democratic system, when there is no presence of any sort of rights and freedom. Okay, so rule of law, free elections, and the right to criticize and everything will not be there. Akkada elections undadu, rule undadu, rights undadu, freedom undadu, anni em undadu. Oka party maatrame rule lo untadi. Okay, వాళ్ళు చెప్పింది మొత్తం వినాలి. यहाँ पे एक ही रूलर रहेंगे, सारे उनके रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज उनके हाथ में रहेंगे, सारे लोग जो भी है स्टेट में सारे के सारे एंड स्टेट किंग को ओबीडियंट रहना चाहिए ताकि उन्हें डिक्टेटर रूल यहाँ पे कर सके. Isn't it? The next features glorifies nation. यहाँ पे totalitarian glorifies the nation, promotes extreme nationalism, state worship. And Hitler, I think you might have seized the time of Hitler in the process of reunification of Germany, when he was trying to build up Germany to take out the Germany from the other hands, he worked hard that. We used to say that, those who are, willing to be into the Germany, they should kill others. Okay. So this kind of a quotations and the proverbs have makes out a kind of a motivation. So ఎక్కువగా nationalism, this totalitarian state, which actually promotes the people to practice an ultra nationalism. Okay, and when this also more encourages to the people to, have concern towards the nation. They never consider the things and others and all of them. So this dictatorial and glorifies the nations and all of them, such things which it can be understands in the totalitarian state. The third one, it is truly against the democracy and socialism. No equality, then it can be called as a democracy. No equality, if it is existence in that, surely it will be an opposite to the democracy and socialism. Tolerates no political opposition because there is no single party system would be there in the totalitarian. There is no point of reason to see any kind of a thing. So hence the political oppositions will not be there. Intensively nationalistic. Okay, sorry for the disturbance. I think my voice is very clear to everybody now. Clear, my voice.
Sorry.
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, in totalitarian state, they will consider religion or not?
Speak loudly. Just 1 second. I'll give you.
Sir, in totalitarian state, they consider religion or not?
1 second. 1 second.
Religion importance is given, sir, or not? In totalitarian state.
Give me some time. I'll let her finish this. Then after I'll come to the questions and I'll give the time to ask the questions. Don't worry. Okay. Okay, fine. You are so obedient. Okay, fine then. And strength and weaknesses, if you could see it as totalitarian kind of government. The first one is that in the strength, rapid economic progress will happen. Lawmaking is faster easily because of one man will be there. Relatively stable government, less room for corruption and less room for a relatively stable government. When it comes to the weaknesses, crushes individual liberty, no political freedom will be there, reputation and repudiations of reasons, anti-religion, racist, and total control of human life will be there. So as you have said, and there are many case studies which have seen that Nazi Germany, Ethiopia, Mongolia, Vietnam, Cuba, Mozambique, Angola, as Iran, okay, Fidel, many of rulers which we have seen that. And if you could see, read in the page number, all of them, the case study 134, you shall understand very easily that how the system was in existence in the kind of government which is called totalitarian. These are all about it. And the tomorrow's class, we shall discuss the things which are related to sovereignty and monoism and the pluralism. So the words which will understand what is sovereignty, monoism, and pluralism. I just give you the introduction for that, and tomorrow we shall discuss. I think tomorrow is the last class, I believe, and if I'm not wrong, okay. The term sovereignty derived from the Latin word superanus, which means supreme power or supreme authority. Sovereignty, therefore, means supreme power of the state. It can be called it as a sovereign state. And if you see the some of the thinkers, interpretations of the sovereignty, Jean Bodin, the 16th century, who is a French political thinker, is credited with developing systematically the concept of sovereignty. He has written the book. The name of the book is the 6 Books of the State. In this book, The Republic, 1526, Bodin defines sovereignty as supreme power of the state over citizens and subjects, unrestrained by the law. Means state has an every right to do it, and it has a superpower and which cannot be unrestrained. And even other definitions, if you could see that, Hugo Grotius, okay, a 17th century Dutch jurist, is widely known as a father of international law, elaborated the external aspects of sovereignty. John Locke, even, is an English philosopher who is an exponent of theory of social contract, who was a part of that, who also stated that sovereignty is a result of social contract. Another thinker, if I tell his name, Burgess, as an American writer, defines sovereignty as the original absolute, unlimited power of the individual subject, overall associations of the subject. Even the last but not least, W.F. Willoughby defines sovereignty as the supreme will of the state, means supreme power of the state. In the opinion of John Austin, law is command of the sovereign. Okay, these are all the definitions which is given to the sovereign state. Similarly, if I speak about a kind of an monoism, okay. So, however, we understand we shall understand challenges of sovereignty and how the sovereignty can be used by the states and all of them. So, as in the similarly monastic theory, what is the monastic theory of sovereignty? In 19th century, the legal notices of sovereignty were brought to the logical conclusion by the John Austin, and it was an English jurist who explains about monastic theory. What is the monastic theory? Here is that sovereignty in a state vested in a determinate human superior who is legally placed above all people. If a determinate human superior not in a habit of obedience to like a superior receives habitual obedience from the bulk of given society, the determinate superior is sovereign in the society, and the society is a social political independence. The determinate and human superior is the final source of the supreme power. Means here is that the man will place an important role. They never consider anything. Who is the boss? He is the and master of entire administration. That is a monoistic state. Mono means single. Okay. We'll see the characteristics of that. Pluralistic theory. What is a pluralistic theory? Is that pluralistic theory is that it makes us to understand, power which it can be executed by the more than one people who have an authority and in a many of people. The best example, democratic state, which I can take. So who have supported to the pluralistic theory in this concept mean the names of the scholars in the political science starts off with German jurist von Geckre and English legal historian F.W. Mainland, H.J. Lasky, J.N. Fife, G.D.H. Cole, Barker, A.D. Lindsay, McEwer are some of the well-known modern exponents of pluralistic theory who have developed the pluralistic theory of the sovereign. So, however, we shall understand the main principles of pluralism and the things how it is important to understand importance of pluralism and all of them in the tomorrow's session. Even we try to understand in the tomorrow's sessions about other topics, that is a unit 5, the last unit, individualism in the fascism also, we shall understand. Okay, so this is all about today's topic. If you have any kind of a doubt, you can ask me, I'll give you the time, and one by one you can speak and tell me the doubts what you have. Okay, so let us ask the doubts.
Sir? Excuse me, sir. Sir, I have a doubt.
Yes.
What is the difference between theocratic and totalitarian state? Because in both we are able to see there is anti-religion. And in both
Good,
states, we
but
can
you
see
know,
that only one person is going to govern over all the country. So what are the differences between them? I am able to see only the similarities.
good. The difference is that in the totalitarian state, the person can come with the inheritance as well as to the elective method. Okay, but in the theocratic state, there is no point of reasons to conduct the elections. There is no point of reasons to come the power from the inheritance wise. But the role of God is more in the theocratic state. What God decided to that, the people follow the thing. That is a major difference. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir. Understood, sir.
Rest of them similar. There is a religious role. There is no role of religion in this other state. Okay.
Sir, in totalitarian state, there also religion is given importance. One second.
Yes, yes. You're asking something. Please ask once again. So the major difference between theocratic state and totalitarian state. Totalitarian state is a state where one man can take the entire the power, will have a control on others. Okay, and he may come into the power through the elections or inheritance. Whereas in the theocratic state, it gives a major importance to the God. God will decide the society what to be. So there is no point of election. There is no point of rule. There is no point of party systems. Hope you understand the major difference. Rest of them, I mean, equally same.
Yes, sir.
Okay, done. Anything else, Sammo?
Sir?
Yes.
Sir? Where
Yes,
was
yes,
the
yes.
question?
Please
How we
speak
should
up.
study, sir?
And every lesson has a questions in the last page of the particular unit. You can read the questions, and there are short questions and long questions. Okay.
Is it a model examination question, sir?
Yeah, in your book, if you receive the book from the university, end of the book, there are also model papers. You can refer that. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Anything else?
Hi, sir.
Yes.
We have more lessons, sir. We didn't complete our lessons, sir. Then what should we do, sir?
Tomorrow we shall complete. Don't worry. Okay.
All will complete, sir.
Yeah, we have finished the 4th unit right away. One topic is, I mean, just remains in that. And the tomorrow we shall finish the 5th unit.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Thank you. Anything else? Okay, fine then. See you. Bye, everybody.
Friends, hello friends.
Yes.
మీరందరూ ఎలా చదువుతున్నారు ఫ్రెండ్స్? అంటే క్వశ్చన్స్ అవన్నీ లెసన్ లో ఎలా చదువుతున్నారు చెప్తారా please?
బుక్స్ ద్వారా చదువుతున్నాము.
బుక్స్ ద్వారానే, కానీ క్వశ్చన్స్ ఎక్కడ ఉన్నాయని చదువుతున్నాను.
బుక్స్ వెనకాల క్వశ్చన్స్ ఉన్నాయి చూడండి, దాంట్లో ఆ చదవండి. బుక్స్ వెనకాల క్వశ్చన్స్ ఇచ్చింటారు.
అవును, అంటే
రిలేటెడ్ ఆన్సర్ బుక్ లోంచే మనం థియరీ ఫుల్ లెసన్స్ లోంచే మనం చూసి చదువుకోవాలి.
అంటే ఫుల్ థియరీ అంటే
లేకపోతే బుక్స్ అమ్ముతారండి, దానికని క్వశ్చన్ బుక్స్ లాగా కొట్టి క్వశ్చన్సే ఉంటుంది, దాన్ని కలెక్ట్ చేసుకోవచ్చు మీరు.
అంటే క్వశ్చన్స్ కొంచెం కన్ఫ్యూజ్ గా ఉంది. ఇక్కడ ఒక నిమిషం, ఇక్కడ చెక్ యువర్ ప్రోగ్రెస్ అని ఉంది చూడండి, పేజ్ నెంబర్ 11.
చెప్పండి.
అయితే అది ఎలా ఫిల్ చేయాలో అర్థం అవ్వట్లేదు. ఇవి కూడా వస్తాయి ఎగ్జామ్ కి క్వశ్చన్స్?
అవి అంతా రాదనుకుంటాను మేడం. ఓన్లీ 15 lines క్వశ్చన్స్, 30 lines క్వశ్చన్స్ అలాంటిదే అడుగుతారు అనుకుంటా. నేను ఫస్ట్ ఇయర్ ఇప్పుడే జాయిన్ అయినాను. ఐ డోంట్ నో ప్రాపర్లీ అబౌట్ దట్.
మీవి ఏమేమి సబ్జెక్ట్స్ అండి?
పబ్లిక్ అడ్మినిస్ట్రేషన్, పొలిటికల్ సైన్స్, ఇంగ్లీష్ లిటరేచర్ ఫౌండేషన్ కోర్స్ అది, తర్వాత